This is process pulse running, you see that, and what I'm going to show you in this demo is how to combine a data source and a model in a configuration. It's going to be a similar configuration to the one running now, where I'm reading some near-infrared data, running a PLS model, and getting some predicted values. So for me to set up or create a configuration, I go to the configuration pane. And here you see that there is a listing of all of the configurations I have in my system already. And I have the opportunity, of course, to review these configurations. If I go into that one, for example, you see that I'm getting all of these configuration details in terms of what model and data source are combined, and also what settings are created or decided on during that configuration creation. But I'm going to show you how to create a new configuration. So I choose new configuration and I'm going to give it a name, and that's going to be demo configuration, like so. And when I have created that, I need to decide, okay, my demo configuration, what type of model is that consisting of. And the reason why I have to do that is because different configurations or different types of configurations, different models will have slightly different plots and so forth, and there will also be slightly different decisions I need to make during the configuration setup. You see that I have all of the model types you recognize from our Scrambler model builder, but you also see that there are some other types of models like eigenvector, which is PLS Toolbox, and solo models from eigenvector, Bruker, which is Opus models, and PEAKSACT, which is PEAKSACT models from SPACT. What I'm going to do today is to do the predict or the PLS model. So I'm choosing that, and in the next page then I need to decide, okay, which model am I going to use in this configuration, and I'm going to use that demo model, which I have created in a different recording. And here in this case, this demo model, it has only one revision, one version. But if this model had been refined multiple times and having different version numbers, I have the opportunity to change the version number which is uploaded or used here. And the default is the latest version number, but you could change that. Sticking with version 1 for me, I need to decide on a data source, and then I've created this demo data source, which I'm going to use. And the same applies here, of course, that you can change the version if that is relevant, but in this case it isn't. So clicking next, then we have the opportunity to say something about what type of output we're interested in. So I want my Y predictions without deviation, not interested in the classification table because it's not a PLS DA. So I want scores as scatter, and I want to have access to all of the outlier statistics. I can also decide on how this is going to be laid out. So maybe I can choose this one here, having the maybe we can have the scores on the left, we can have the Y predictions on the right, and at the bottom we can have the raw data. Clicking next, then I get the opportunity to say if I should be sending out any information, any data during the running of my configuration, and I can do that through different file formats or different posting options, but I'm not going to do that right now because my configuration is just going to be running my PLS model on the near-infrared data, and I'm not interested in linking this in with the process control loop or anything like that. So we click next, and then we have the opportunity to have conditional running of our configuration. And this is very useful if you are running a process and maybe you have some conditions which is vessel filled before you want to start your configuration, or batch started or something like that. But for me, which is just doing this as a demo, I just stick with the normal running of the configuration. In the next step, I have the opportunity to select which alarms should be shown or used for my configuration. The default alarms here, they are the alarms which are picked up from Unscrambler. And as you are developing the model in Unscrambler, you have the opportunity to change the significance levels, and you have the opportunity to decide which statistics, outlier statistics, should be used in your model. So depending on the decision you make in Unscrambler, this list will be varying. You also have some default messages for these default warnings, but what you can do, of course, is that you can go in here and you can change the text. I'm not going to do that, but you have the opportunity to do so. You can also do your user-defined alarms. So if we just do a test one to show you that, you see that you can create alarms on the raw data, which is all of the wavelengths we're looking at now, and also the outputs from the model, which is residuals for wavelengths, the scores and the predicted values, and so forth. I'm not going to create a user-defined alarm here, so I'm going to remove that one. We have the opportunity also to combine multiple alarms, so we can then say that we want to have a requirement here that, if the alarm is outside the model limit and if it's also outside the T2 limit, then we have an alarm raised or a warning shared. And this is possible to do both with the standard alarms, but also with those user-defined alarms. And the last type of alarm is the trend alarms, where I can go in and look on the last X measurements, the last 10 measurements, for example, and I can say that, okay, out of the last 10 measurements, how many samples needs to meet a certain criteria. And my criteria can be related to the raw data or the output from the model. But I'm just going to stick with the default alarms, and I'm also going to stick with the custom messages. And going to the next page, then we have the opportunity to define permissions for our configuration. This is useful if we are using the protocols in a site which have multiple lines, and maybe we have different teams working different lines, and also, of course, if you are using protocols across multiple sites. Not going to do anything there. Just going to look on the summary, the setup here. Everything looks good, and I am happy with this. So I click finish, and when I click finish, I have created my demo configuration. And that was what I wanted to show you here.